Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
On July 4th, 1962, I found myself in the lost and found of mankind. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that it wants to be there. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that the person who lost it doesn't care for that lost item.
You are writing moments that people will learn from, grow from, and heal through for thousands of years. Together, we are co-authoring a unique moment in time. That DNA, those fingerprints, they're going to be gone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it is your story that they will tell for thousands of years. But only if you leave it. Things that do not serve you must go. The longer you wait, the more time you give them to trick you into serving them. 22 homes in foster care, everything I wore as a scar, as a shame, things that started like Velcro on my spirit. After just a few months, then years, then decades, I had believed myself into believing that they were indelible tattoos. Sometimes we have to be broken down to appreciate the view once we start getting up. I want you to leave this place and know that you have been changed. Why? How do I know it's true? Because each of you has just changed me. Good morning. Hey, everybody. Yeah, today is worse than yesterday, but I'm not claiming it. I'm just, hey, it's here for a reason. I'm going to find out the reason, and it'll be on its way. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your somewhat raspy host, but I'm here. Long as I got breath and can talk, game on. Can I get an amen? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, I'm so glad you're here. I'm excited about today's show for a number of reasons. But first and foremost, it's because guess what we're doing right now? Us, right here. Yes, us. We are fulfilling what I believe to be one of the most awesome blessings, one of the most awesome opportunities available to everybody. And that's the one that guarantees us that when two or more of us comes to one spot, one place, with one mind, one heart set, one soul set, in agreement, magic happens. Spiritual magic happens. And today is no different. So can I get an amen? All right. Listen, today I want to get right to it. I'm so excited. I got back on the treadmill today, y'all, for the first time since I contracted COVID. My trainer, my ex-trainer, because I fired her too after COVID, and I hadn't been on the treadmill. Anyway, I got back on today because she guilted me. So, hey, if it doesn't serve you, to the left, Felicia. Bye. So anyway, there you go. So I'm feeling great today. I wanted, every day's a truly wonderful thing when we have illuminated conversations here, which we always do. But today is one that is very special to me because a couple years ago, actually during COVID, it was the first time I left the house to go on the road after COVID had started because all my gigs had been canceled and everything. But then I got asked to come to this thing to do an interview thing for the network in, where's that place? Utah. There it is. Thank you. Senior moment. Be gone. Right. And it was Jason Cisneros' organization sponsoring a peaceful protest known as the Slave Free Project. Some of you may remember when we all did that, right? Sherry McQueen and all of the Misfit Nation, you know what I'm talking about, right? So they hired me and my digital content company, Electric Revival, to create the promos for it. And I consider myself pretty decent when it comes to due diligence and really digging in to get the story that is needed in these things. And one thing I found out after doing it, I'm going to show you the piece that I did, the commercial for it, because I thought through my lens, this is what trafficking looked like. And when I got there and started talking to girls that had actually been trafficked and also a mother whose daughter at the time was still missing. They've since found her. But at the time, it was right there. It was raw. It was right there. And so I want to show you the piece. Then I'm going to tell you, let's get Stephanie in here first. Stephanie Olson is a family member because we're members of the Elevate Masterclass family. And you remember Sabrina was here and she also, these two, we came together for some talk and chat a couple weeks ago. And of course I said, why haven't you been on the show? So she's here, but let me tell you why I'm so excited. She's a speaker and author, Stephanie Olson. She's a speaker and author, a podcaster, and a CEO of the Set Me Free Project. How interesting. Slave Free Project, Set Me Free Project. I'm detecting a pattern. Divine. Okay. Before founding the Set Me Free Project, Stephanie worked with women in the area of sexual and domestic violence, addiction, and homelessness. Been there, done that. Every last one of them. And she also worked with youth, teaching healthy relationships. Now, there's so much more. Like I always say, like the kids say, I can show you better than I can tell you. Plus, I ain't trying to go back to complete Louise Jefferson-ish today. So I'm just let this rest for a minute and get Stephanie in here. She's a first timer. You know the routine. We roll out. I'm finding the red carpet. We're going to roll out the red carpet. We're going to throw some hearts on the screen because that's our virtual form of applauding and supporting and really get involved. Now's a great time to share the broadcast out. There's a lot about trafficking happening right under our noses. And I also want to talk to Stephanie today about a little thing called the customer. I heard this in a room on Clubhouse. And there was these people talking about the people who actually, like the prominent people who orchestrate a lot of this. They're called the customer. What? Anyway, here she comes, everybody. Stephanie Olson.
Good morning. I am so inspired already.
You are?
Yes.
So are we. I'm so excited you're here. You look
Thank
great.
you.
You
Thank
sound
you.
great. You are great. And you heard the preamble.
Yeah.
Getting in there, and I want to get right to it, Stephanie. I'm going to give you a chance to maybe fill in some of the blanks that I left off, hit those highlight points, tell people where you are in the world, and then we'll get started. I'm going to dip out to give you some space, and then I'll come back and we'll jump right in. Is that okay?
That sounds great. That sounds good.
I'll be right here.
Yeah. So, Stephanie Olson, I am the CEO of the Set Me Free Project, and I also speak on several different topics in the area of sexual and domestic violence, trauma in the workplace, and all of that stuff. And, it's been a very interesting journey because there is a lot going on in the area of human trafficking. And just like Lauren said, we don't really understand what it looks like, and it's right under our noses at all times. So I'm going to talk about some of the myths and bunk some of those, but there is stuff happening in our own community. I live in Omaha, Nebraska, which is smack dab in the center of the states, and we are actually a hotspot for human trafficking. People think that Nebraska, it's a flyover state, nothing happens there, but we are actually a hotspot for human trafficking. And so we see it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, this is like one of those caramel cakes my mom used to make. It's so good. The topic is just so delicious. It is. And I know that's a weird way to put it, but
nope,
what I
I'm
mean
with you.
that,
Yeah.
it's like something that we need to consume, all of this.
Yeah.
So
it is.
I want to start with this. I want to show this piece that I did for Slave Free Project because, like I said, I pride myself. I try to find that story and really, but this piece of it, it's in there. You're going to know it. Was purely through my own uneducated lens, and they allowed it to stay in so they could use it to talk about that. Okay.
Wow.
So here goes. And then we're going to talk about what that piece is. Be right back.
When I saw you, I would lose control. Made me feel like there was no tomorrow. Should've told you that you're beautiful, but the days pass and now it's so long ago. Did you make it? Did you break free? Did you manage to be who you wanna be? Maybe somewhere you think about me too. I wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Wonder where are you now? Would you know my name? Would you know it and did you feel the same? Wonder where are you now?
Okay. Now they said,
Hey,
said,
well done.
but the piece in there that I found out was not accurate at all, does not represent the face of capture, is when the guy takes the hand and puts the thing over the little girls. That's how I thought they just like grabbed him as they were walking past.
Yep.
And then two of the girls that were at the march that were, returnees, I guess you would call them. I don't know. They had been trafficked. The hotel that I was interviewing them in was a big hotel. It was really one of the nicest ones there. You could see the Mormon temple from my window, like right there over this little bridge, a stone's throw, literally. And the girls said to me, because I was describing that kind of thing, how were you snatched?
Yeah.
Snatched. They said, no. They said, I was trafficked, both of them, out of this very hotel. I'm like, what? So let's talk about that. What, Stephanie, let's talk about the myths.
Yeah.
Be a myth buster, if you could, for a minute, about what it looks like, because we want to work our way to what we do is the people walking right around it all the time can do to be on alert. Just like in the day when they used to have neighborhood watch symbols in houses, windows, you knew where to go, things like that. So start with the misconception of how it began.
Yeah, Absolutely. Trafficking, and I'm going to define it first because I think we have this vision of the movie Taken, like somebody's kidnapped, shipped overseas, and that's what it looks like. But human trafficking is the buying and selling of a human being for the personal profit or gain of another through force, fraud, or coercion. We usually think about that force piece, but really it's the fraud and coercion piece that we typically see in trafficking. And so some of the biggest myths is that kidnapping piece, that trafficked individuals are kidnapped. Rarely are they ever kidnapped. It's a grooming process. It's a building of relationships that we see. And so the majority of trafficked individuals don't even self-identify as being trafficked. They don't even realize they're being trafficked often because this is someone I love. This is someone I trust. This is someone I have a relationship with. And so that's a big myth. The other big myth is that it's only girls.
That was just going to go
Yep.
there.
Yep. We see, sometimes up to 50% of boys are trafficked, and it depends on the community. But
Yep.
I'll tell you what about boys, the reason we don't hear about them often is because society has put this stigma on boys that, hey, man up. If you're ever in trouble, suck it up, buttercup. And so boys aren't disclosing as
Right.
often as girls are disclosing.
And
So,
then, you know what, Stephanie? I knew it because my time in foster care.
Yeah.
There were girls that were in the home that were foster kids, but they didn't get messed with nearly as much as we boys did.
Yeah.
Because it was easier to get caught,
Yeah.
trace evidence or whatever. But and they don't ask us. They weren't. It's just so I always wonder, why do you think that is? That just because we're the male population of trafficking isn't speaking out, the people who are rescuing them, or why? Who's responsible for that not being a part of the conversation?
I think everybody but the boys are responsible for that. I think society has put on this this stigma for boys in our generation that they need to be strong. They need to not, it's a different mentality. But one of the things that we have to recognize is that boys are often more profitable. They're more desired. And the younger, the better. And those are things that we really have to come to terms with as a society and stop it from that demand piece. I always say, head in the sand, it's warm in there, it feels good in there, it's cold, but we need to get our head out of the sand in that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. Oh, Bella Purpose. You guys know what that is whenever we get some truths out there. So, it's just, there's so many directions to go when talking about this. But today, for the sake of time and all, let's talk about a typical day. So you've heard a lot of stories about the origin stories of the moment it happened, the transition. Talk about the most common place you hear where that grooming process you mentioned actually begins.
Yeah. Number one place, social media. That's where it begins. And that is why it looks so different than we think it does. And one of the things that we talk about, that's why it's everywhere. And we always tell kiddos, when you have access to the world has access to you.
To you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Stephanie, I already know right now, because my mind did it. When you said social media, my mental picture of what you're talking about went to a site where a lecherous old man is pretending to be a 12-year-old boy, and the girl is like 10. But these women that I interviewed were trafficked at 20, 18. So where are they? They're not in some Holly Hobby Playroom.
Mm-mm.
Where on social media? What kind of places are we talking about, Stephanie?
Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat,
How does it
all
look
the
on
yeah.
there?
So here's what it looks like, and I love that you bring this up because we do have these images, but the reality is that we have followers on social media that we don't know. And so we're putting all of our stuff out there. We are saying, this about, family members are, and so now somebody comes in that we don't know and they start liking our posts. And then they might start commenting and say, "Oh my, we have so much in common. We are, I mean, we're in sync. We've got to connect." And over a time period, and this can be a year, this can be more, they start to connect, they build a relationship. Now we're partners romantically. And then one day I ask you to do something that you would never seemingly do normally. But now, because you trust me, because you love me. And that's how it happens. It happens just like all of our interactions on social media.
I said, oh, I keep telling myself, breathe,
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah.
Well, seriously, because it's not the dialogue, but it's a lot of the imagery that the dialogue isn't invoking, or
Mhm.
you know what I mean? That's kind of in a
Yeah.
little way triggering for me,
Yeah.
and not just my own experience. I'm picturing
Sure.
what's happening out there. So let's talk about that. Do you feel, for instance, that we have become as a society desensitized to everything must be named,
Mhm.
right? But like human trafficking, what's the difference between that and this?
Mm.
But when
Mm.
you see this, you picture somebody, a cult or something,
Mhm.
disemboweling somebody. What's
Mhm.
the difference? There's still a dead carcass, a body,
Mhm.
everything's been robbed of this person,
Mhm.
whether it's physical or mental. It's
Right.
still
Right.
so.
But I think part of the problem is that until it touches us sometimes, we don't care. To be totally honest with you, as human
That's scary.
beings, it's terrifying. And so we think, well, and that's why the foundation of everything we do with the Set Me Free project starts with you have an intrinsic value that no one can change, that you have worth, you have human dignity, you have value. And when we understand that piece from a human being intrinsic level, not monetary value, but when we understand how important we are, that kind of changes the playing field. And that's why it needs to start there. But then, as people who are listening to that, we also can say, and so does everybody else. And when we recognize that that person over there has intrinsic value, we can't not care when we're talking about human sacrifice or when we're talking about human trafficking or the things that we don't think touch us as human
And
beings.
that's my point. The
Yep.
the words, a person that does and violates underaged kids
Yeah.
in a prison system or jail, and I've been to both of them,
Yep.
there's no hiding place.
Right.
They're called everything from pedophile to chomo to all these. They're the lowest of the low. But
Right.
in this world, you see things like look, Hugh Hefner.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Hefner was a sex trafficker.
Mm-hmm. Absolute. Well, and I'll tell you what, the link between pornography and trafficking is huge. And
Talk
so
about
when you look at those things, you see and that's controversial. Even in my industry, that is controversial. But when you see the consumers of pornography and when you look at what the trends of pornography, so the younger, the better, you start seeing abuse, you start seeing very scary things happening in pornography. The trends follow, or sex trafficking follows the trends of pornography. It's very closely linked.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Now, he was on the show actually like 4 years ago, a guy I met selling leather goods in a store. The one where I bought this shirt, actually. Hi,
Okay.
London Sky. Shout out to London Sky, Naperville. And
Ooh,
they-
Naperville. I
Yeah.
have family there. Yes.
oh, that's where we live.
Okay, so we are. I am coming to see you. I am
can't
coming to
wait.
see you.
Yay!
Awesome.
Ringing the bell. So
Mm.
I go in, and it was this day actually, and this guy has a table in the back with leather goods, and he has a thing out of his garage for women that have been rescued from the Philippines, right? From sex trafficking. So anyway, when he came on the show, we showed a clip where when he went over there, you're not supposed to use your phones in those. There's like a stretch like Vegas. And nothing but bars where you can go in, and they're in cages and stuff. And he showed it, but he had to it was hard because he had to walk so that they wouldn't capture him in that. But anyway, here's what shocked me, because he went in restaurants and stuff. 90% of the customer, I couldn't even say it. You hear me? That he would witness was like rich old Caucasian men that were like CEOs and things. He said,
Oh yeah.
And African American and white sports people, like retired baseball, football. They're moneyed.
Money.
Right. And they're taking pictures with 8-year-olds and just all kinds of just really disgusting things. But my point in bringing that up is the elite can go, you don't want to shit in your own yard. You don't want to shit where you eat, that kind of thing.
That's right.
But there's all these sub levels, So tell us a story that stands out to you of someone, of course, no names or anything.
Yeah.
But of something that we would go, what? So that people can get, you know what I mean? Real life, true.
Yeah. Let me tell you, this is really hard to understand, but I was talking at a school once, and I kind of give an example of, like, if I were to kidnap you and throw you in my white van, which is really a black Honda, and I drugged you and sold you, would you be a good product for me? No, you wouldn't. You'd be scared. You'd be nervous. But if I became the mom you never had, and if I started to fill your needs and give you the things you need physically, emotionally, would you be a good product for me if after a year I said, hey, now I want you to do this for the family. We just need rent. And I was doing this example with a group of kids. And this one kid, when I said, if I became the mom you never had, and he said, shit, that would be awesome. And so as I started to dig into that story privately with him, what I found out was that his mom started to traffic him when he was just a little boy, sold him for rent money, sold him for drugs over and over again. He fortunately got out of the situation and went into an amazing home who adopted him later on. But one of the biggest things we see is trafficking, familial trafficking. So moms and dads are the traffickers. Grandmas and grandpas are the traffickers.
A 60-year-old black Macaulay Culkin, Home Alone. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Because I'm sitting here, and what I'm trying to figure out in my mind right now in real time, Stephanie, is who is sicker or who is more responsible.
Yeah.
Think about it. The person who does the act with the child is a pedophile, can't be cured, blah, blah, blah. But how does the person who makes it possible, what are they, if they can justify that action, that transaction in their own mind? How come there's no profile, really?
It's really evil. And I think that there's a lot of factors that play into that. So some traffickers are kind of born into trafficking or grow up into trafficking. Some have been victims themselves. And then some are just evil, messed up. and have this narcissistic view of life that everything is about pleasing me, and it's just mind-boggling. Buyers are the same way. When you're talking about a buyer, they are often lied to, or they lie to themselves, like, this person that is with me loves to have sex and that's why they're doing it. Well, sorry, sir, but they don't love to have sex 30 times a day as a 12-year-old. That's not something that people love, but this is the lie people tell themselves.
Oh my goodness. To me, it would seem like and we're going to get into that too, when someone is taken out, because I hear a lot of times they don't want to leave the captor
Yeah.
during the rescue. Jason says they've gone and there are people like, I don't want to go anywhere.
Well, it's
And you're
crowded.
like,
Yeah.
what? So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
When we return, we're going to take a brief break, you guys. When we get back, I want to talk to our guest, Stephanie Olson, about a couple things. Red flags, number one, that we can look for, or that may be a sign or a cry for help from somewhere in your world. And then also that organizational aspect. A lot of times, this isn't one person. And like Stephanie, like in the news, that guy who killed himself and then the woman just went to prison, and
Jeffrey
then
Epstein killed himself, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
right. You see what I mean? But
Mhm.
organizations and
Yeah.
just how it happens. We
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
touch on a lot of things when we come back. Now is a great time, you guys. Share this out. You'll be blessed for doing it. We'll be back. Don't go away. Hello, hello, hello. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? Seeking purposeful direction that could and should propel your mission within your divine journey to that next level, but still it hasn't happened. Well, my name is Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the founder of P3, the Journey Series. People come to me because they're wounded. Many are scared, and even there are those who are bruised simply because they feel that they are increasingly, for whatever reason, losing their ability to dream. Now, this P3 program is not for a person who's just looking to start a business, no, but rather for those of you out there who have been on your journey and you've been navigating within your divine purpose, but you still desire to elevate to that level that you have not reached yet. If this is appealing, if this describes you, then I want to have a chat with you. I want to hear your story. So use the link below to get registered for your free seat at P3, the Journey Series. And let's get started. One story at a time. I'll see you inside. Click the link. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And I cannot forget today because I got an email about it yesterday because I forgot. Really quick before I bring Stephanie Olson back in. Listen, if you're looking for something today for lunch that is going to serve you and you are feeling good about serving to others, try this one. Progresso soup. It's light. That's the one I love. Only 150 calories per can. 16 different wonderful varieties of flavor. Whatever your jam is, they got it. Progresso. Head down the soup aisle at your local grocer and give it a try. All right, Stephanie, welcome back. Before the break, I mentioned that I wanted to get into red flags, the organizational aspect, and I want you to take us into what your organization does and how people out there may be able to contribute, be a part of it, start something like it in their area, et cetera, et cetera. So take your pick, which one of those you want to go with.
So, let's talk red flags really quick, because I think there's a lot of things that we can see, and it depends on if we're looking at somebody that we know or somebody that we're just seeing on the street, for example. We're in a Walmart
Okay.
and we're seeing
Yeah.
somebody.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So somebody we know, and I always say the best way to prevent, because we're all about prevention, the best way to prevent human trafficking is building relationships. Traffickers build amazing relationships. We need to build better ones. That's really important. And so if we see a family member who is starting to change from their typical, whatever their typical is, and now there's differences, they're starting to become not their typical, that's a red flag that something is going on. Maybe there's an older partner, romantic partner, or friend in the mix, and they just don't, where did that person come from? During the grooming process, because the grooming process, and I just want to point this out, the number one step in grooming is targeting. So whatever it is that makes you a target, and there are some vulnerable populations. Traffickers go after the vulnerable. And vulnerable can mean I'm in the foster care system. I'm feeling
Yeah.
displaced. Vulnerable can mean I'm in poverty. But vulnerable can also mean I'm from a really great family. I'm in what is considered the part of town, and I just post something on social media that, boom, makes me a target. So vulnerability can look like a number of different things. But there are vulnerable populations, including the LGBTQ plus population.
Really?
But absolutely. And not because they're LGBTQ, but because they might feel displaced. They might feel not accepted. And so there, boom, is a vulnerability for someone to swoop in and say, I accept you. I think you're amazing. And so that's what that targeting piece is about. And then the second stage is I'm going to build trust. I'm going to fill a need as the third stage. And whenever I fill a need of yours that no one in your life is seemingly filled, we
Yeah.
create a bond. We create a
A
strong bond.
major bond.
Yeah. And then I'm going to isolate. Then I'm going to sexualize you as a product. And then I'm going to maintain control. And if I do those first three well, those last three are very easy to do. So during that grooming process, which could take a year, could take more, during that grooming process, you might see excess gifts, excess money. That's when you might see some of those things. That might be an indicator of, where did that come from? Where did you get this new iPhone? Where did,
Okay.
Yeah.
So right there, let's throw this part in because I
Yeah.
was already there. I was
Yep.
like, she's kind of describing it like they're still in the house at home. See,
Thank
a lot
you.
of us think that they just disappeared. Misty didn't come home yesterday.
Thank you for saying that. That is huge. So many, especially if you're talking kids, if you're talking, they are in the home. There was a young girl, she was in high school. She was getting straight A's, going to school every day. She would come home, do her homework, go to her afternoon job at Dairy Queen, and she was getting sold, pimped out by her quote unquote boyfriend every night. Mom and dad had no idea. And this is how it happens. They are not, and again, you don't have to be moved, you don't have to be transported to be trafficked.
See, everyone pictures,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like,
No.
they're all drugged out.
Yep.
That's what they show on TV, that they're locked in a room. We
Yeah.
just saw it on the
Yeah.
shine the other
Yeah.
night, and they're like, and like living in some haze.
Yeah.
That's not,
That is not what it looks like. And that goes back to the majority of trafficked individuals don't even realize they're being trafficked. And so if you were to walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, are you being trafficked?" The answer would probably be no. And that goes back to your point of, why don't they leave? So when you go to rescue somebody who's been trafficked, this is someone they love. This is someone who's been taking care of them. This is someone who's giving them shelter, who's giving them clothing, who's giving them food. And there was a survivor who said, if you want to help a trafficked individual, you better be prepared to give them everything their trafficker's giving them and more.
I just thought something just flew through the yard here. Um, so many similarities to a cult or
Yes.
a gang. How you
Yes.
get jumped in and they become the
That's right.
family, and I bet you in there they refer to because everyone I believe has an innate desire, whether they admit it or not,
To
to be a
belong.
part of something greater than themselves.
That's right. That's exactly it. Yeah, both of those things, actually, both of those things have a grooming process, the cult, the gang, all of those are very similar things. And it doesn't look like we think it
It
looks.
looks
People are not getting beaten up, kidnapped, and so trafficking situations, you can be walking around, you can be going to school every day, you can be living at home and being sold every night and not even recognize that that's what's happening.
so. Couple of things I want to pivot into. Oh, good, we're doing great on time. First of all, here's the one question. I don't know if you've ever been asked this one, but here it comes.
Okay.
Want to hear it? Here you go. Shelf life of a trafficking.
Oh, 7 years. Yeah, it's about 7 years from the time a person is trafficked to the time they usually um, die or are in a situation. I mean, it's a very short shelf life, very short shelf life. And the 1 to 2% of trafficked individuals are recovered or rescued. Only 1 to 2%. I mean, that's a striking low statistic. And so that's why we're all about prevention, because once you go in, to get out is so hard. And we are a very reactive society. We and this is really important with trafficking. We need people who are in the recovery area. We need people in the restoration area. We need those people, we need those organizations. But prevention is not exciting to people. Prevention is not sexy. And so, and yet 1 to 2% of trafficked individuals are recovered. So if we can actually stop trafficking before it starts, that would be so much better for our kiddos, our young adults.
So, and I agree. Again, my ADHD. I was
Thank you.
watching something on the screen, and here
Yep.
comes that one. So, we hear a lot about the trafficker and the victim, the trafficked
Yeah.
person. But what about, why don't we hear more about the customer, the person who is buying
Yeah.
the other person? Because, they do stings to catch prostitution. They have prostitution raids and all kinds of things where they round them up and they know the names and this. So why is it that there's I never hear anything about them catching, even when they talked about Epstein and them. I don't even remember, and if I did, it didn't stand out about people who were caught.
Well, Prince Andrew, who totally got out of the situation by, you know, I mean, so here's what I'll say. And if we could stop the demand, that would stop trafficking, right? I mean, if we could get that, that would be huge.
And why do people like that, the elite, the one percenters, whatever you want to call them, why do they get to be called nothing?
Yeah.
That is like, there should be some kind of OJ thing that they can throw on them, where no
It's
matter where you
money.
go.
That's the problem, is that, and this is why I think trafficking is so hard to stop, because it it is about people who are the elite. People, for example, Omaha Franklin scandal. Look it up sometime, you're already depressed. But the Franklin scandal, yeah, was a
I
was
was
a
just going to write it down, and then I might want to wait.
Yeah, I know. It's a bad Franklin scandal happened in the 80s here in Omaha. And it was, so we have Boys Town right here. And there were elite people in Omaha. So the chief of police was involved, the head of the Omaha World Herald, all of these elite people. Um, were a part of this huge thing that was put on by Larry King, not the TV guy, but he was this big political figure, and he would throw parties. They would take kids, a lot of boys, from Boys Town, throw these parties that went all the way to the White House. And it was terrible. But he got arrested for tax evasion or something, kind of like Al Capone. I mean, it had nothing to do with, yeah, but it's because these elite people, I mean, the chief of police was involved. Who's going to arrest the chief of police? You know, so you've got these elite people who are involved in the buying, who are involved in that portion, that there's a lot of money. There's a lot of hush money. There's a lot of murder. You know, hey, I mean, I don't think personally Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
Right.
For example. Yeah.
Ooh, conspiracy. Don't put me in jail, Facebook. Well, you know, I'm just saying. Oh, wait a minute. I know how to get out of that. Wait, I learned this. Okay, wait a minute. Okay.
Ah.
As long as I put it in there.
Yes.
I don't want to black man and creep down my cul-de-sac. But anyway, what about, here it is. We want to get into the Set Me Free project.
Yeah.
What beckoned you? Because, you know, this is one of those, what you do is one of those places where even though you may not be on the clock, so to speak, because you're never really off the clock, you know, a lot of the things you see, hear, experience, you can be in the car by yourself, but all of that is riding in there with you. You don't unsee it. You can't unhear it. Why would you choose this work? Why? What was it that made you say?
I didn't. I said I came into this kicking and screaming. I didn't choose it. God chose me. And I really believe that. It was, I am a survivor of sexual and domestic violence, recovering alcoholic, had trauma in my life. And so really my heart was working with women and youth on those types of things and healthy relationships and living a life of victory. That's what I was doing for years. When one of my coworkers said, "Hey, let's help sex trafficked victims." And I thought, okay, movie taken, you know, we're going to help these women from overseas. And I had no idea what it meant. But when I started looking at what trafficking really was and started really researching trafficking and studying what it looked like, I realized, oh my gosh, this is my kids. You know, who's talking to my kids? Who's talking to parents? Who's talking to educators? And that's really how it started for me.
What pulled the breakers box? What flipped that breaker handle? I mean, you must have seen her, because that's like a divine moment.
Yeah, it was. I studied, you know, I really did. I call it, the Holy Spirit School of, that's where I went. And I studied, I talked to former traffickers. I talked to individuals who had been trafficked. I talked to people doing this work and really finding out what it looked like. I did before we even started this organization, we went through 6 months to a year of just study on this. And it was overwhelming. And so what I realized when I really found out only 1 to 2% of individuals trafficked were recovered, 1 to 2%, I thought, we got to stop it before it starts. No one is talking about prevention, and no one was talking to the kids who were at risk. Nobody was talking to their parents. Nobody was talking to teachers. And that's really how we began. That's what it was. It was my kids. And I was like, no one's talked to my kids about this. No one's talked to me about this. And that's really what it was.
Do you feel there should be a class, if you will?
That's what we do.
For kids?
Yeah, that's what we do. So we have a curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade. for
Wow.
high school. We have a college age curriculum, and then we educate adults of every facet of the community. And one of the things we had always for years gone in ourselves to educate students. But what we're starting to do now, because schools are changing, COVID has just messed things up. And
Yes,
so
me.
what we're yeah, exactly. So we are now getting our curriculum into the hands of counselors and teachers in the schools, social workers. So we have our curriculum available to purchase for schools all over the United States,
Oh, wow.
and it's amazing curriculum. It's we have over 10 pieces of curriculum, and it's incredible. And so that's what is so important. I'd love to see it mandated in every state, but our curriculum is quality, it's unique, and it's not fear mongering. What we don't want to do is terrify the kids. We know that making kids afraid of something or saying, don't do this, stay off screen time, that's not going to work. And so our curriculum is really based on critical thinking skills, that foundation of you have value. And I'll tell you a story. This is what our
Mhm.
curriculum does. Um, we were in a school, and there was a young boy who approached us after the presentation. He said, no one has ever told me that I have value. I have never heard that. And so, starting to talk to him, we found out that he was in an extremely abusive home. He was being sexually abused now at this point by his brother. So, there was a lot of sexual abuse going on.
Mm.
And so, at that point, obviously, we have to report, and we tell them that. And we did. And usually, we never hear anything about it afterwards because it's confidential. But this little boy emailed us, and he said,
Oh,
hey, I wanted to let you know I was taken from my home and it was scary, but for the first time I am safe, and I want to thank you. It's because of you. A month later, he emailed us again and said, hey, it's my birthday and I'm having a birthday because of you. And that's why we do what we do.
oh, can I get an amen? That's
Amen.
just, so nice to see that there are those. That's the thing that keeps us going.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we nibble our way, and then something like this happens, and then we decide, I'm not going to stop till I eat the whole damn thing.
That's right. Exactly. It's
You
that
know,
one. Yeah, it just makes a world of difference
in,
knowing that you made a
in a
difference.
lot of ways.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the United States real quick.
Okay.
Hotbeds. Any top hotbeds in the country, and then why maybe what's happening
Yeah,
there that's not why is it there? So
right.
place where
You
runaways
know,
go, or what's that all about?
yeah, the Midwest is a huge hotbed. I think we think a lot like it's East or West Coast, and it certainly is happening there.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But the Midwest is a huge hotbed. And I think part of it is because, well, we're in the middle of the United States. So it certainly does make it easy to travel and things like that. But we're also amazing people in the Midwest. We
Mhm.
are trusting,
Yes.
and so traffickers absolutely can take advantage of that. And now with social media, it is everywhere. And Florida is a huge hotspot. There are pockets throughout, but I think the most important thing to remember is that it is happening everywhere in our community and in our homes because of social media.
Is there, Stephanie, absolutely right? I'm like, hurry up, get this question in. Is there, like, as far as laws,
Mm,
for organized crime, there's the RICO Act.
mhm.
Uh, is there anything in place? Because oftentimes that's how a lot of people can get, involved from a grassroots level. What's in place laws for traffickers, especially organized? Because, they have
Yeah,
systems like
it's
Underground
gotten
Railroad.
it's gotten a little better. it's hard to catch a trafficker because you do have to see that, exchange, but it has gotten better. So we've had some laws recently that have increased the sentencing conviction of a trafficker for about 40 years now.
Oh,
So they get, and that's I would like to see longer, but I'll take that as opposed to, the slap on the wrist that they were getting. We need to see stricter um things for the buyers. I think that if we were to get the buyers, there would be a lot of demand that would stop. But again, we're seeing buyers just getting slaps on the wrist.
well, I'm going to tell you this, and you guys get this, grab this. I'm going to drop this link in the comment section. So at the conclusion of the broadcast, if you want to click over, feel free, and I encourage that you do so. But Stephanie, I just feel like we need to change the imagery.
Yes.
Of what it looks like.
Yeah.
If so that we start seeing it for what it is.
Yeah.
And so, see, that's the frustrating part right there. I'm like, here we are at the conclusion. And of course, I didn't expect to find the Holy Grail within 60 minutes, but
Right.
I feel an internal frustration of, well, shit, I still don't know.
I know.
I don't have a picture of what I can do. So
Yeah.
let's pretend this is not pretend, because it is a modern day stone soup opportunity.
Yes.
Where do I go? Give us some places
Yes.
that we may be able to drop whatever we have in that kettle in the middle of
Yeah.
our world to help.
I think the number one thing is education. And if we can get that education, stop trafficking before it starts, that's huge. So absolutely, we love to do trainings, webinars, but if you could help us get our curriculum in your schools, I think that's huge, because then your kids are learning this before it's too late. And so, and I'll give you another website, if I may. setmefreeproject.net is the Set Me Free Projects website, and we can get you training. We can get the curriculum in your schools, but you can also help by volunteering at organizations. You can help by donating. I know people are like, I don't want to give money. That's all. That's huge. That is huge, because we can't do what we do without funding. And so those are all ways to help. But I think the biggest way is get yourself educated and know what it is that you are looking for, and help your kids too.
And yes, and I'm gonna tell you guys, listen, if you want a painless way to just start the process of turning on the faucet in your world to drip a little love, kindness, and opportunity to this issue we've been discussing today, one way I know that works is you order from Amazon, go to amazonsmile.com and find Stephanie's nonprofit, plug it in, and the name of it is the Set Me Free Project.
Yes.
Right? And then a portion of everything you ever order from Amazon will go into a pot that will go to them.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? Not
That's
just
an easy way.
That's an easy way. Doesn't cost you, and you're not going to bleed, I promise. So, Lori, Whitney, yes, you're right. We can't do anything without money. Money makes the world go round.
It does.
I mean, it does.
It does.
And we can't act like it doesn't matter. So, Stephanie, I just want to thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're out of time.
I've had a blast.
I have too. And I want to thank you for coming into this sacred space called Bathrobe Moments today and truly pouring something in. I want you back anytime you have
anytime.
And I'm going to tell you this. I would love to talk to you about, I want to give you my full list of all the schools that have ever been a part of my life for speaking or coming to the Power of We Symposium, including the universities, commencement speeches. I'll give you my list, my golden Rolodex, and warm introductions. You got that coming?
That is great. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to talk about us doing with the E360 network as a partner, a 90-minute television special where you bring in all these kinds of things so people can just peek in and see the reality of what we're dealing with so we can change that reality. Okay.
I would be honored.
So, awesome. Listen, you guys, tomorrow, let's see. Oh, Jill Hecker is here tomorrow. You won't want to miss that. The promotion will be out within an hour. Check it out. And in the meantime, get out today. Take great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger. Never forget, when we come together, we create this magic that I promised on the front end. So I will meet you, God willing, again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central, so that together we can create a specific, a unique, and incredible moment in time together right here on Bathrobe Moments. Be the blessing. I'll see you. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Oh, I'm standing right here holding up a sign.